Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 19360 Southwest Blaine Street here in Aloha. You're located at the front of the house or just to the right of the doorway. I'll show this really quick here. It's a 3-inch cast iron cleanout. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. These 3-inch cleanouts here, rather tricky. Anyway, once we get the camera ahead, they always want to send your camera backwards, which is ironic because they're directional and they're supposed to force you down line. Anyway, got it there. So we're zeroed out, water's running, off we go here. And we're going to revisit this spot here on the way out. You've got some stringy items there up on the sidewall that have the potential to be roots, but we'll take a better look at them. You know, you can notice how the inside of cast iron's not the smoothest thing in the world. You get a rust layer that kind of creates for a rougher texture. And stuff over time can get hung up in it, especially a line this age. Human hair, dental floss, string, all kinds of different stuff can go down these lines and get kind of stuck to the sidewall, and you get 20, 30 years of gunk built up over the top of them. And just about anything stringy-like starts to look very similar to a root intrusion. So, and it may very well be one. We'll get a better view of it here on the way out. And immediately looking at this line, it has more of the appearance of a 4-inch cast iron line. Right here, we're belling out to you make a very slight diameter change. That's almost a flush transition. And concrete pipe is almost always, or it's always a minimum of 4-inch diameter. So I think as we dropped in here, sometimes these 3-inch cleanouts immediately drop you into a 4-inch cast iron line. It's just, to eyeball it's very difficult because you can't see the diameter change. I've got some level of standing water there. Alright, and there's our main connection at about 61 feet. Alrighty, we're going to go locate the camera head here really quick while the line drains out, and we'll have a better view of everything as we come back. Alright, located the camera head successfully. Line terminates out on Southwest Blaine Street. So as you look at the home from the street, or face the front of the house from the street, that's how I describe everything. The line exits out just to the right of the front door. It then veers from right to left under the driveway, and about the middle of the driveway is where the line turns and shoots out to the street, approximately, in case you're curious where the line's at. So we've got some standing. We'll see how this is looking here now that the line's drained out. So far, that's a very, very minor amount of standing water. We're talking like a 1/16 of an inch, which is not the kind of standing water I'm generally looking for. A little bit more here, and we're getting just a little bit deeper stuff at this point. So this one here, this is probably the most notable spot in the line, from about 40 feet. So, and you know, the way that this belly is, realistically, it actually extends beyond this point. It tapers out to such a minor amount, though, it's hardly worth even calling it a belly. This spot right here is about the only thing I even really call, or has a belly anyway. And at this belly's worst point here, I mean, you hit an inch of water there for just a moment. I mean, like 6 to 8 inches of pipe. Most of it is down into the 1/4 of an inch realm, which generally speaking, standing water at that level right there typically requires abuse on the homeowner's side to ever get enough buildup to cause blockage. And if you look at the side walls and the top of the pipe here, they're clean, there's no buildup, nothing indicates any past blockages or backups have occurred there. Not that it's impossible. Any standing water, has the potential to do that. After 13 years and 25,000 sewer lines that I've scoped, what I've come to find is that the overwhelming amount of bellies out there, whether they are minor or fairly significant, hugely comes down to how the homeowner treats the sewer line. Now, if you're putting a lot of wipes and paper towels and grease, cooking oil, junk like that down the pipe, tampons, it's your items that, either giant balls of toilet paper, which is, toilet paper is a proper item. However, if you ball it up, that's not how it's intended to go down your line. That's, if you sent a ton of huge balls of toilet paper down the line, you could theoretically get enough buildup to occur there. Otherwise, it's mostly improper stuff. Wipes and paper towels, things that might hang up and don't have the ability to disintegrate on their own. That's the stuff that's more concerning. And on top of that, that belly there is getting a good distance from the house. But where I generally speaking start to consider repairs on a belly is once there is a 5-foot section of pipe with at least an inch of standing water across it. I don't mean for for a foot. I mean the entire length of it. That's about the point where I typically start to see regular old toilet paper hanging up. But generally, I'm recommending a fix on something like that when it's very close proximity to the house, not when it's that distance from the home. So don't get me wrong. The line, it's an older sewer line. It's showing its age. There is very little buildup to speak of in it. This spot right here is about the only part of the line where this is a kind of a hard one to discern here, whether you've got roots there or not. Because some of this is going to be human hair and or cobwebs. It's some of those dark, stringier items there stuck up to the pipe wall that are the more difficult ones to discern. Like that stuff in the floor line right there, that is undoubtedly human hair. It's some of the more jet black stuff up at the top of the pipe that's harder to tell. And what's difficult is you can get, like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of things that can get down line. Human hair, floss, string, all kinds of stuff. Tampon strings. And small to be like but when they've sat there for a long period of time, they get gunked over, and it becomes very difficult to tell what they are exactly. You are indeed in the proximity of some plants here. I'll locate this really quick just to see where we are. But, the closest plant I'm seeing is a potted plant. It's not even buried in the ground. And where this is at is right under the edge of the front concrete walkway, kind of the landing right in front of the front door. And the closest thing to it that I can call a plant or a bush or a tree is one that's potted. There's a small sapling tree way away from here. It's like 25 feet away. As far as I can tell, I'm going to write this up as possible roots. The only time that you can get scenarios where you get tiny roots that never really progress anywhere is if a root intrusion happened in the past and the tree or bush or whatever may have caused it has been cut down. In a lot of cases, sometimes tiny little scraggly ones will survive, but without a tree above ground or a bush above ground to gather sunlight, they often never progress into hardly anything concerning. I'm not even entirely sure that's what you have here. I've cameraed thousands and thousands of roots. Some of that stuff there looks rootesque, I would say. There's a lot of it, though, I can tell is simply debris that's gone down line and or just human hair. So that's about the best. Right now, I'm not at the point here where I want to recommend a repair on that. Nothing, flow is not being affected by it. So it's an older sewer line, it's as it sits right now, though, there's so little debris in the line I can't even recommend cleaning on it. If I can't recommend drain cleaning, I generally don't jump straight to repairs. So and going back to the belly that's out there at 40 to 46 feet, part of the reason that belly where it's situated is not as concerning. One, it's not a terribly significant belly to begin with. But two, if you can imagine a blockage even theoretically occurring out at 40 feet, you have to fill up at least that much pipe just to get back to the foundation wall of the house. A blockage that's made out of proper items, toilet paper, for instance, generally speaking, that amount of head pressure, the water weight that builds up behind a blockage, will generally push things through before it ever gets back to the house. So it's like I was saying before, it's mostly a scenario where if you were putting quite a bit of improper things down the line, which you want to avoid like no tomorrow on an older cast iron and concrete line, that rougher texture does not handle abuse terribly well. So that kind of stuff really shouldn't be going down line to begin with. So as it sits here today, it is an older sewer line. It's showing some of its age, but it's still clearly conveying sewage from point A to point B. There's very little buildup to speak of in the line, and there is no blockage evidence or any signs of past backups. So I would keep an eye on the line. I'd rescope it about every 2 years to monitor it. And just I mean, it's, you know, I would wager you've still got time left in this line, but at this point, in this juncture, in my opinion, it's not ready for update, especially being that the only thing in the line that structurally even has the ability to feasibly cause an issue is 40 plus feet out from the house, and it's a relatively minor belly to begin with. So we have adequate flow of the main lateral connection. All the pipe here appears to be intact, although it is older, it's showing some of its age. It is functioning at this time. I will notate on the report, you know, the possibility of roots there. Right now, I think it's kind of a hasty jump to jump straight to that. And I'll show you here the surrounding area. There's just, you know, the only thing that even has roots that's within the vicinity of this is a potted plant. It's not even in the ground. Otherwise, you got some stuff over there and a tiny tree over there, and it would be mind-blowing for a tree that tiny to reach out to this point this far away. So for all those reasons right there, that right now is looking more like simply debris in the line than it is roots, although it does have that appearance. I'm just not seeing where the source would even be at this point. The sewer line is functioning at this time, but keep an eye on it. It's an older sewer line. You want to just watch for things like joints wearing out, things like that over the years, you know, and I would plan to probably update probably within the next 7 to 10 years, just based on how it looks today. But you know, every one of these lines ages differently, and a lot of it comes down to usage, how many people are in the home, aspects like that. But the biggest reason you want to do that, the belly could theoretically prevent you from being able to do something like epoxy liner. You could always look into it, whether or not you could cure that. But the reason I like people to keep an eye on these things is with the advent of trenchless repair systems, the one thing you don't want to do is let a line wear out to an extreme point where all the joints are opened up to the ground, stuff like that, where you get, you know, progressive settling throughout the entire sewer line, which prevents you from being able to do that in the future. That's looking down the road a little ways. I always like to give you a little bit of now and how you're looking into the future. It's a good idea to keep an eye on these lines with those systems out there these days, especially a line that goes under a driveway and under a street.